Eat your oatmeal. Think back to when you were in school and you were learning about plate tectonics. Did you ever have a teacher tell you that plate tectonics is just a theory? Did you ever hear a teacher say, I personally don't believe in plate tectonics, but we just have to get through this lesson plan today? Did you ever see a sticker on one of your textbooks warning you about the controversial theory of plate tectonics? Probably not, because plate tectonics has been a well understood and accepted scientific theory since the 1960s. So why is it that when we're talking about teaching things like evolution or the age of the Earth, any one of those ridiculous teaching practices becomes totally acceptable? I mean, we're not teaching the controversy about other scientific theories like gravity or cells or germs, right? So why are we okay with public school classrooms entertaining the idea that the Earth might just be 10,000 years old? Because the difference between 4.6 billion years and 10,000 years is like saying that the distance across America is around 17 feet. Would you be cool with the geography teacher telling students that America is 2,600 miles or maybe 17 feet across? Depends on what you believe. This is a really good question, and a really common one too. Why haven't we evolved to the point that our teeth never decay, or that our hair never falls out? Why haven't we evolved so that we never get sore backs and aching muscles and stiff joints? Why haven't we evolved past cancer? And the key is to think about when those things typically affect a human. Generally speaking, more often than not, any one of those ailments isn't really going to be a problem until well after what you might call prime reproductive age. And that is the secret. Evolution is all about reproduction. It's all about having babies. The more you can copy and pass on your genes, that's the name of the game. So any one of these things that's going to hurt you after you've already had kids or after you would have had kids in the wild, it doesn't really matter. If your teeth fall out before you hit puberty, then you have selection pressure, but even then, evolution works on populations, not on individuals, so that would have to be a trend in your whole population before evolution takes any effect. This is a fun little puzzle that I used to love to bring out to schools to teach kids about physics and whatnot. And since I can't in good conscience do any kind of live show anytime soon, I figure I'd just show it to strangers on the internet. So you've got these 12 nails here, and the whole goal of the game is to get 11 of them to balance on top of just this one. And you can see people struggling and fidgeting with this for hours and hours on end, trying every single possible configuration of stacking and rolling these nails, trying to get them to balance. I want you to think about it too. Figure out how you would get all 11 of these nails to balance up on top of this one. And I'm going to give you the answer in 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah. You see, by interweaving the butts of all the other nails in between these two nails here, we've consolidated their centers of gravity. And you can notice we've got 5 nails on one side and 4 on the other, so you'd expect if I take one out, it would straighten them, but it actually makes them all twisty. How cool is that? You could very easily make one of these at home if you were so inclined.
Something definitely down there that we never talk about. Garbage!
This guy's talking about a conversation he had with his wife in which he makes the assumption that there's almost certainly garbage on the bottom of the ocean. And let me tell you, it is so much worse than you think. In fact, back in 2019 and then again in 2021, researchers who were exploring the bottom of the ocean, trying to plumb the depths of the deep to figure out what's really going on down there, found plastics. And it's not bad enough that these plastic bags and stuff are just down there, choking out the life forms that are just trying to live, but they break down. They degrade into little microplastics that permeate every level of every ecosystem around the globe, including our own. Because I know it's really hard for some people to remember, but humans are not special. We're a part of this whole cycle as well. And right now, on average, worldwide, every single human being consumes about a credit card's worth of plastic every single week. I swear, the way we treat this planet and the things that live on it like we own it is just disgusting. Why? Why do you want me to talk about platysma? I can show it to you. There it is. That's your platysma. It's a big, broad sheet of muscle that goes down the sides of your neck, and it does that. That's what your platysma's for. It plays a small role in chewing, because it does pull on your lower jaw a little bit, and it aids in frowning, because it's connected to the corners of your lower lip. So there you go. That's platysma. That's what that's all about. There's a lot of really cool muscles in your neck. My favorite one is sternocleidomastoid. It connects the mastoid process of your temporal bone here on the back of your head to your sternum and your clavicle, which is why it's called sternocleidomastoid, and it lets you do this. Boom. I can look down and to the side at the same time. Sternocleidomastoid all day long. How cool is that? Platysma is just your grimace muscle. There you go. Now you see it.
Maybe somebody knows.
Those are called salps. They're in the same family as sea squirts and stuff. Tunicata, I believe. They're harmless. They're good little guys. They come in little pill shapes. Some of them are long and tubular. Sometimes they all chain together and form these great big long strings of salps that float through the ocean. They're filter feeders, so just anything they can get into their weird little mouth feeding nets, they're able to just nom on and enjoy. And they just goo their way through the ocean. They look like little jellyfish pill monsters. And even though they look and act like strange jellyfish creatures, they're actually more closely related to humans than jellyfish. How weird is that? Salps, everybody. Just harmless, weird, gelatinous little monsters. I love them. This is a great question. And the answer is that you need to change the way you're thinking about how evolution works. It's not just here's this one species and then boom, here's the next species and these ones all die off and then these ones take over, right? It's a very slow, imperceptible change over countless generations. Each organism, each new offspring being just a little bit different until all of those changes accumulate and add up to the point where we can no longer say that these two things are the same species. Okay, so just take the whole concept of species and get it out of your brain. It'll be so much easier, okay? Don't think about it as, here's this species, then here's this species. Because sometimes those common ancestors live alongside us for a little while. We coexist. But every time they still survive, they just become us. It's not like they quit and then we just jump in. So take the species concept and throw it out for a second and imagine an unbroken chain of life for the past 4 billion years. And it'll make a lot more sense, I promise you. So I just woke up and yawned a whole bunch. And that got me thinking about this muscle called tensor tympani. It's a little tiny muscle that lives way deep in your inner ear. And its whole job is to pull on one of the little bones right behind your eardrum. Pull your eardrum taut. That's why it's called tensor tympani, because it tenses the tympanic membrane. It evolved to protect you from really loud, sudden sounds, like thunder and stuff, but also from the sound of your own chewing, because otherwise the noise of you grinding and squishing food in your face would be deafeningly, maddeningly loud. And so, because it's connected to your jaw in this way, when you yawn, it activates, pulls your eardrum tight, reduces its ability to vibrate, and that's what creates the whooshing, rushing sound in your ears when you're yawning. I hope that makes you happy to know. I'm gonna go back to bed. Good morning.
Because I'm afraid that people will dislike it.
Hey there, Lucas. My name's Forrest. First of all, I want to commend you for being able to talk about something that you're afraid of. You'd be surprised how many boys aren't able to do that. I also want to tell you that I'm a scientist, and I study human biology and behavior, and there is absolutely no scientific reason why boys shouldn't wear nail polish. In fact, did you know it was actually invented for boys? The ancient Babylonian warriors used to wear it going into battle, and the different colors denoted different military ranks. Oh, and by the way, high heels were invented for boys too. As far as what other people think of you, I hope you can learn to just forget about that. I find that I am the absolute happiest when I am doing and being and wearing whatever I want. And I think that the coolest people throughout history were the people who were able to just unapologetically be themselves without worrying about the expectations of everybody around them. As for me, I don't wear nail polish because I think it's really fiddly and I don't have to maintain it. But if I did, it'd be something like this. This is one of my favorite colors from my wife's collection. It's all dark and sparkly and it reminds me of space. So I did a bad job. You keep being you, Lucas. You're awesome.
If you had 24 hours with me and I couldn't say no, what would we do?
Proteins. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what's the difference? They're both lipoproteins. One's just low density and one's high density. The difference is the low density lipoproteins are able to slip their way under the covers of that internal lining of your arterial wall that we were talking about earlier. And that causes this little buildup that we call a plaque. Those plaques are really brittle, so they're able to snap open, which causes this big tear in your artery wall now that has to be patched by a blood clot. So the blood platelets that are flowing through here stick on that and continue to build and build, forming what we call a thrombus, which slowly occludes the artery, restricting the blood flow. So you're going to get ischemia downstream because you're not getting the blood flow that you need, until finally this thrombus completely occludes the artery, and that's where you get a myocardial infarction, aka a heart attack. And that's why these nasty, greasy, fried foods just aren't worth it, because I've worked on so many cadavers that you can just crunch your way down their entire descending aorta, is they're just packed to the brim with this LDL plaques. Now, untwist yourself, we're going to talk about chronic pulmonary disease. All right.